So Ken Mijungu is still here with us, and we're going to be joined by Jeremiah Kioni shortly. Ken, today is like that one, eh? It's the day that Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, we expect that the Speaker will inform the House that I have received a motion that is seeking to impeach the Deputy President. What do you know so far?
As much as you do, probably with just a little bit of twist and details.
Yeah.
You know, yesterday we were organizing a show for tonight where we're going to have members of Parliament, one or two. We're seeking to have also lawyers and just governance and policy experts in studio to discuss this after it's tabled. And then I called a member of Parliament, and then she told me that, Ken, are you sure this thing will be tabled? Then I said, yeah, we're sure. Then she asked me, do you really know our boss? Because he could just wake up and say,
last minute.
Yes, no, spare this guy. But this is going to be tabled. If you look at the last...
What makes you so sure?
The last 2 weeks, Rigathi Gachagua has given more media engagement than he's done in the last 2 years. The guy is on his defense. His back is on the wall. It has to be tabled. If you look at where it started, this is not the first time they're thinking of impeaching Rigathi Gachagua. I think in 2 separate occasions they've tried this, but the president has always called it off. This time the president has kept quiet, and we all know our president is not someone not to be put on his defense. He'll always want to speak. He'll always want something. During the height of the Gen Z demonstrations, how many times did he speak? He gave a media interview. He gave a local interview. Local media's interview, ethnic kama zinaitwa vernacular. Then he did town halls too, to be precise. Then he did around. The president is someone to speak. If he was really not interested in this, he would have spoken by now.
So his silence implies that he's okay with this going through?
We heard yesterday that there was supposed to be a parliamentary group meeting.
Yeah.
The president could have landed yesterday or today morning or on Sunday afternoon. How was it someone who said the president was landing at 4? Are you aware if the president is in the country or not? Do you know if the president is here or not?
Is he?
The president is here.
When did he come back?
The president came back on Sunday afternoon. But silence. Not saying anything. Why? Because it's so easy for him to say something. It's so easy for State House. This is the Deputy President of the Republic. State House is quiet. Speaker of the Nation. Yeah?
Maybe that's the thing. Just come out in the last minute, after the thing doesn't go to Parliament, he appears somewhere and, he says, you know what, the president, the deputy have had a meeting. You may see Hussein Mohammed actually just tweeting here a photo of the president and his deputy.
Taking tea somewhere, and that's it.
Strolling in State House, each with a hand, and that's it. And say, they've talked, they've discussed matters of importance and how to work together. And the president has renewed, blah, 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 this, the other.
The news explained to me how you cure what the deputy president has been spewing in the last 1 week and a half. How do you cure it, even if they speak? Do Kenyans just wish it away and say the deputy president did not speak? The most indicting statement that I had, it's usually they don't do a direct attack.
Yeah.
When he said the president was in Washington, although the president was in New York, and met Walker, the Ford Foundation president.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he says, our own president is flip-flopping. Anajaribu kutuambia nini? How do you walk back on those things?
It's very difficult.
How? When he says...
You don't need to. You're a politician.
No, but this is a deputy president and the president accusing his boss.
They are politicians. Did we not see Uhuru standing up and talking about his deputy and saying, instead of helping me, he's out there. Instead of doing this and the other, he's out there. And then when they meet...
Apples and oranges.
They are shaking hands and smiling.
Apples and oranges.
And Uhuru never tried to impeach the guy.
Apples, no, there was a trial. You remember the one that was defended by Duale when he said impeaching a deputy president is very difficult. It's not a walk in the park. Yes, so there were talks, but let me tell you the game changer for William Ruto during Uhuru's time. William Ruto had numbers. Same thing right now. He had numbers. Rigathi Gachagua does not have numbers, even in his own backyard. He doesn't. And if it was easy, then he should marshal support, get about 117, members of parliament to approve a motion. That motion, then the speaker is notified that there will be a motion of impeachment against the president. Just 117. Do you think Rigathi Gachagua can get 117 members of parliament to begin the process?
Maybe he has 118 to stop this impeachment process. He needs 118.
So maybe he has what it needs.
Let's calculate. How many have signed?
He needs 118. What? How many? You have you seen the motion?
I have the motion.
But have you seen the signatures there?
No, the motion.
Because the news today, we are reporting that 300 have signed.
Yeah, almost
right?
300, yes.
300, almost 300 have signed this motion. Is it 300 National Assembly or 300 NA plus Senate?
No. You don't need Senate to sign at this point.
Okay.
Because the procedure is this.
So it's 300 National Assembly.
National Assembly, yes.
Meaning that you have exceeded all the 290 constituencies. You even have some woman reps in there and such and
That's
so
why
on and
they're
so
saying
forth.
300. You see, the support, what they're talking about is the support to impeach Rigathi Gachagua.
You only
How
need a
many
third.
people, yes, how many people are saying we will impeach him when he comes to the, this motion comes to the National Assembly and goes to the Senate. So that is given. Members of parliament can, both sides can say we will impeach him. So you find Senate putting their signatures, we will, accepting, right?
Yeah.
Supporting it, even at heart. Like Millie Odhiambo said the other day, I've signed, but she hasn't put her signature on paper. So the ones, if you calculate how many members of parliament are saying we will support, then they exceed 300.
Yeah,
but for the National Assembly,
will they vote?
It's about 240. What stops them from voting?
That's a crux of the matter. That's a crux of the matter.
Isn't that the question in terms of what has always stopped anybody from voting? If they said they were going to do a certain thing, and then we find that on the floor, somebody does something totally different.
They were not present. That's the day when their case was coming up. They had a dentist appointment. They had to go somewhere. They got late, their flight. They did miss the flight. They were not in the house.
Yep.
And so you do not get the 2/3 that's required.
240. Let's play with the 240. You're saying after the discussion of this motion next week on Tuesday, right? When the deputy president will be put to his defense. By the way, he can elect to appear in person or not to appear to defend himself, right? And just wait for the members of parliament to do their thing.
Yeah.
So you're saying the 240 can walk back on their signatures
Yes.
after they discuss the motion?
Yes. Absolutely, yes.
So that next week,
You see,
we have a situation that
they have signed, some of them have only said it verbally. So you don't even know whether for sure
they're committed
they are
to this.
committed to this.
Yes.
There are those that have signed and said, okay, I am signing this impeachment. And they can turn later and argue, after listening to the man, I actually don't see the grounds.
After reading the motion.
After reading the motion, after listening to the arguments, I don't think that these are sufficient grounds to impeach the president.
Okay.
Others may not show up because genuinely,
they don't want to be associated
as a
with it.
politician, genuinely, I was late, I had an appointment, I was summoned by DCI, all those things.
For this, I think my guts. I'll go with my feelings in this. It will go through. I'm looking at the stages. So last week they gave the notice. Today they're tabling it. Then they open it to the public. Tomorrow we wake up and our newspapers are inviting public participation, which is unnecessary. Just share with us your motion, right? Your memo on what you think about the deputy president. Then by Tuesday next week, it goes to plenary. And then they tell the deputy president by weekend that these are the allegations. Actually, by today, he'll be seized of this matter. And then on Tuesday, he appears and then they vote. And then by Thursday, 2 days, they give it to the Speaker of the Senate. Speaker of the Senate picks it up Thursday latest next week and does the same thing, calls for public participation. And then by Thursday, the following week, 7 days, they're voting again. Right? So in 2 weeks, my gut feeling this would be done. If it was not going to happen, Eric, and the only reason I'm convinced it's happening is because the president is silent.
Let me ask you something. I think it kind of puts a spanner in the works here. You've been having conversations over the last couple of days about this, obviously. And it sounds like a hard question to ask, but does it matter?
If he is impeached or not.
Does it matter that there's a discussion about the deputy president of the republic being impeached? Does it matter that it's taking center stage because, it's political? Does it matter in the light of so many other things in the country that are going belly up? Does it matter that there's a discussion right now, that there's an action happening in the next few hours of the impeachment or motion to impeach the Deputy President of the Republic? Does it matter?
I think it matters. One, for legal jurisprudence, it matters. Two, I think it also matters for democracy. And three, it matters from the person who's asking the question, for who is asking if it matters or not. For the common Mwananchi who the last 2 years have seen no benefit in this government, have gained nothing, in fact they have lost, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. For the political heads, it matters to them, because then there are realignments that have to be done post the impeachment, right? So it matters to them. Potential beneficiaries, it matters. For me, I think for democracy, it matters. Let's see.
How so?
Let's see how far Kenya has matured to an extent that if it's not working, then you don't have to feel entitled that I'm Eric's deputy. And I am there by right because I was voted, right? Can Eric say that I no longer need this person? And what will happen in the future for deputy president? I think it sets a very good stage for how deputies, and we've had all this tussle over deputies. I think you've even had discussions here over how governors and their deputies are working. So there's that sense of entitlement, because what Rigiji is saying and what Barack was saying here is he's yet to hear a word of the common Mwananchi. What is in it for the common Mwananchi? So I think in terms of democracy, we'll get to understand, is it by right that once I'm elected in a joint ticket, regardless of how difficult I'm making Eric's life, I am entitled to this place? And how will Kenyans feel about it? You brought us a constitution that joins people in the hip, and then suddenly one can go and the other one remains. I think for me, spelling the future and how the interactions will happen between the president and the governors and the deputies by this single impeachment, I think it will spell it out so clearly, so that we know that indeed this constitution is so robust that we can indeed remove a deputy president the same way we have tried with deputy governors and succeeded. So a deputy president is not by right a deputy president. He can be removed, so that even when you go to serve as a deputy, you are sure that I'm serving and I am not entitled to this position.
The problem though here is that the moves to remove the deputies have just been political. It's a political process. The Constitution puts a threshold there, the grounds for impeachment of a president or a deputy president, okay? But the decision makers are political players. So it's a political coup against the partner of the presidential candidate. It's one orchestrating a coup against the other. It's a deputy orchestrating a coup against the president, or the president orchestrating a coup against the deputy. It is that. Those grounds are not going to be subjected through proper vetting of the grounds. What are those grounds that have been put there? Here they are. Where are they? You had them.
As you look at that, let me ask you, Eric, what is not political in this country? What is not political?
Everything is political, but
everything is political.
The Constitution places a threshold that goes above the politics.
For the
and
impeachment,
says, yes,
150B.
Yes,
and I'm very clear on that.
And what does it say?
On 150, it sets the ground: misconduct, gross misconduct, violation of the Constitution, committal of a crime, national or international.
None of which is that you pay allegiance to the president, allegiance to the boss.
That changed with the oath, right?
Yes.
Our oath currently, you don't pledge allegiance to the president, but to the Constitution.
Exactly.
I agree with you.
None of those grounds says that you must play ball with the other person. As long as you are committed to the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya, you should be safe. Now, the Constitution says the same. You should be safe. If you violate the Constitution in a manner that can clearly be shown that you have violated the Constitution, then that is one. If you have gross misconduct, and gross misconduct is clear what gross misconduct is, and we can discuss what gross misconduct is. It's clear. Go ahead. You've opened it. The Constitution of Kenya.
I have no. The Constitution. I'm looking at these grounds.
The grounds for impeaching Rigathi Gachagua.
Yes, I can look at the Constitution. 150B. They can read it. But now I want to go to a more interesting subject. The motion in itself. You've asked what is the justification. How do we measure the justification and ground it in the Constitution so that this can stand? I'll give you an example of the first ground. Ground one. Gross violation of Article 10. You know what Article 10, all those are articles of the Constitution. the Constitution provides that, among other things, being proud of the ethnic, cultural, religious diversity and determination to live in peace and unity as one indivisible sovereign nation, and recognizing the aspirations of Kenya, this is Article 10, for a government based on essential values of human rights, equality, freedom, democracy, social justice. I don't want you to get lost. Gross violation of the Constitution.
Yes.
That's an impeachable.
Yes. Gross
violation.
And we're talking about Article 10.
Article 10,
which is saying that we are one indivisible country. Gross violation of the Constitution is where one is advocating for the division of the country.
Yes.
Where one is saying, we Murima must secede. If you have not said secede, you are not violating the Constitution.
Now, let me give you the illustration they're using for the gross violation of the Constitution. So they go back to 2023. Sometimes in 2023, at a public forum in Kajiado County, within the Republic of Kenya, His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua made highly inflammatory, reckless, insightful public pronouncements to the effect that the government of Kenya is a company. They are picking that, having set the ground under Articles 10 and all those articles, right? And they are quoting exactly. I know you're saying in your head, oh, go on. And so they're setting the grounds and mentioning the articles that they are mentioned, that they are saying have been violated. 10, 2, A, B, C, 27, 73, 1 and 2, 75, 129, 147, 131, articles of the Constitution 4. Then they're giving you that justification in form of what the deputy president
because
said.
He said he ni shareholder.
Yes.
Shareholder.
Causing disharmony and dividing the nation. You see the way they are justifying it. Causing disharmony. Gross violation of these articles of the Constitution.
Demonstrate.
Yes. So they're demonstrating it by his own.
They are not demonstrating the disharmony.
But you can only demonstrate the disharmony based on the action of someone.
Yeah, you demonstrate the disharmony from the results of what he said. Because of what he said,
there was something. Do we have to wait for it? Do we have to wait to ingest poison to die for us to confirm that you ingested poison?
It's been more than a year.
Yes, but now, this is why yesterday we were reporting that they have actually taken Rigath's own actions, omissions, and words, and they're changing against him. So I've just given you one example of what they're doing, right?
In my view, I hear you.
Yes.
In my books, I'm wondering whether that is an impeachable offense. If our constitutional commission, called the Cohesion and Integration Commission, has not taken action, we should be asking the Cohesion and Integration Commission, why haven't you taken action against this?
On the deputy president. Okay. I've
and demonstrate. Okay, go on.
I've given you one scenario and what they're trying to, how they're trying to justify, and they're lifting so many. Not only that one, they're lifting about 4 pronouncements from the deputy president. Right?
Yes.
I'll go to ground 2. Another one, gross violation of Article 147.1 and 152.1 of the Constitution. This is about basically the responsibilities, right?
Yeah.
So the Constitution provides that the Deputy President shall be the principal assistant of the President, despite deputizing the President in the execution of the presidential functions. 152.1, the Constitution states that he shall be, states that the Deputy President shall be a member of the Cabinet. 152, right? So then, what is the justification again? Because we are talking about impeachable offenses.
Yeah.
Remember, violation of the Constitution. So they have pulled a second one, right?
Yeah.
So they are now saying, on diverse dates in the last 2 years, His Excellency, the Deputy President, and the Cabinet, and the effective discharge of the national government's executive mandate. Wait. Let me read it verbatim. In addition to Article 152 of the Constitution states that the Deputy President is a member of the Cabinet. Then they come with the justification. On various dates throughout the last 2 years, His Excellency Gachagua undermined the President and the Cabinet in the effective discharge of the national government's executive mandate. So that is it. So they are using 147.
Are they giving examples?
Yes, they will.
Of those diverse dates?
They will.
Okay.
So they are using 147, which says you should be the principal assistant of the President.
Number one, he's not being a principal assistant, and number two, he's undermining the Cabinet.
The Cabinet and the decisions made in Cabinet. So then they illustrate this. On around 30th, you asked for illustrations of April, the cabinet passed a resolution for the evacuation of people residing along the Nairobi River.
Okay.
Then they say, shortly after that, His Excellency, the Deputy President, made a statement opposing the Nairobi River reclamation and evacuation orders, which the cabinet had sanctioned for public and climate change mitigation. You see the illustration? So, Eric,
Sure.
remember the thresholds for I've given you one example.
It's pretty slim.
It's pretty slim, but remember, in impeachment motions, what happens? We don't need every ground
To stand.
to stand. We only need.
Yeah.
So if they miss the gross violation of
So
the
far,
Constitution, none according to you.
Hey, sure.
Remember, this is a political process, Eric. It's not a legal process. We're not in court. You know the American system.
I wish they had said,
Yeah.
because the deputy president has been assigned a role by the president to chair cabinet committees. After the cabinet met and passed this resolution,
Yeah.
in the subsequent cabinet committee, he went and overturned that decision. Now there, you can say,
What is the difference?
there is on, it's
What is
something
the
on
difference?
record. Coming out to say,
Yeah.
let's not do it this way. He's not saying, let's not do
Let's
it.
not do it.
No. Coming out to say we can't do it and you sat in a cabinet. This collective responsibility. You sat in a cabinet together with everyone, including the president. And we all agreed as a cabinet that, you know what, for the safety of these guys living along the riparian land, we are going to remove them for their safety. Then I come out as an individual and go and tell them, no, don't move. You can't move. Our people are being targeted. So opposing this decision. Why do you think that is not a reason? And yet the Constitution gives you this. Okay, let's forget about the gross violation of the of the
Also, the decision
Constitution.
that was made in cabinet where, okay.
Yeah, it was a joint,
You
a
see,
collective decision.
And that's what I'm saying. It's political. It's conjecture. The conjecture here is that because he has said, let's not go it this way, he has said, let's not do it. There's a difference.
Aye. Another ground. Serious reasons to believe that His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua has committed crimes. I think this is far-fetched. It's overreaching.
Committed crimes.
Yeah, committed crimes under sections 45, 46, 47, and 48 of the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes, and section 2, 3, 4, 7 of the Proceeds of Crimes and Anti-Money Laundering. You know what they're doing now? Now, they're bringing up that, and then claiming that now he has unexplained assets. So
Yeah.
they believe
That these are illegally acquired assets.
Unexplained, illegally acquired. And then they go ahead and list all this property that have been acquired by the deputy president. So they're just saying there is belief, because then you're put on your defense, Eric, to justify why and how you acquired property, and they've given you this property. And yesterday, the reason why I think sometimes there's wisdom in silence. You know, yesterday during that interview, the media rattled the deputy president.
And what did he say?
And he justified.
What did he say?
No, he justified. He said, some of these properties have been acquired over time, or some of these properties belongs to, or some of these properties I inherited from my brother.
There you go.
No denial.
There you go. For example, if you talk about the property in Kilimani, that everybody knows, that property belonged to the late Derito Gachagua. If the family that is left, going by the remaining elder brother, Rigathi Gachagua, is involved in running it, are we saying that it's his? It's for you to say that. For you to say that even if the Assets and Recovery Agency went to court, they'd have to prove that you are the beneficial owner of this company. They'd have to show that this company is tied to you. And those were the arguments that they were fighting in 2022, and they were saying that because you've gone to a certain circle and said money has been deposited into that circle, that doesn't mean that it's me who has stolen money and put money in that circle. That was the argument that they gave the Kenya Kwanza chaps. Now the Kenya Kwanza chaps are telling us because Outspan Hotel has been acquired by somebody who looks like Rigathi Gachagua, that is Rigathi.
Who appears on the CR12. But you see, what is the proof? For example, that's why I'm saying this is a political process. It's creating perceptions also.
Of course,
because right now, what are Kenyans are talking about?
And I get back to my point.
Yes.
Like you said, that this is, stretching our constitution and seeing the effectiveness of our constitution.
Exactly. Yeah.
I agree, but also at the same time, I'm saying now it exposes how we balance between politics. And justification. That do you want to remove a president just on account of that we are no longer working together, so you look for whatever reason This guy insulted me last week at the airport.
So therefore,
I was called Mujinga 21 times. And so let me bring a motion to remove him. That's the kind of thing.
But you see, there are checks, when you say that, there are checks and balances that were created by the Constitution. You cannot just come and say, I don't like Eric Latif, so impeach him. Because then the check and balance.
Well, you can, but it shouldn't hold water like that. You
then
can
it goes to Parliament, because now you have to marshal the numbers to support your position.
Exactly.
You have to even, to think about it, you have to have 117 in your bag.
Yeah. And the expectation here is that Parliament will be thinking and working independently. That's the expectation.
Yeah, the expectation.
The Constitution,
it's not reality.
Says that Parliament shall be working independently, and in fact puts 2 layers. To remove a president is not so easy. You've got to go to the National Assembly, and you've got to go to the Senate.
Yeah.
Unless the Senate upholds the National Assembly's decision, you're Kitu dead.
Yeah.
Putting serious thresholds.
So there are checks and balances.
The expectation is that, there are very good checks and balances in our Constitution. So, Ken, what are the other grounds that they were saying?
All right. And he just showed up. The courts did him some good yesterday. But let me just go to part C, gross misconduct. So they've also tried to illustrate gross misconduct. And, of course, this says that recklessly and unmindful of the high calling of dignified status of the office of the Deputy President of the Republic. That's gross misconduct. But the most interesting part on gross misconduct is the one they've mentioned on insubordination. So they say he's supposed to support the president under Article 147 as the as a deputy president and the principal assistant, but he has gone ahead to undermine the efforts of the president. So it's just what I said. It's just fishing, hoping that the hook
will land one thing.
Fish.
One thing will happen.
Just one. Yeah. Okay. That's the hope.
So Jeremiah Kioni, the Secretary General of Jubilee, now the proper Secretary General, legal, all matters have been sorted. Ameamua ukalia na yote mbili. Kiti ni yako.
Ninafurahi kukuona huyu mkurugenzi mwingine. Na madam mwenyewe.
Yes. People have been saying here on social media, on our live stream, Kioni is always late.
I know you see that. I must apologize once again, but the problem was with my people who fixed back-to-back interviews. I had another, what is it, K24 interview. And we are not next to door. I was asking them, how do you do this?
Yeah.
So I really must apologize for that. And then they also didn't want to release me until I said about this impeachment. So I really feel bad. I remember very well the last time you accused me, and I said, Latif will open the session with the same statement. And I start accused. Lakini pia unajua tunatembea tukiangalia nyuma. Because nowadays, jana we were with Waitito at that place, Karura. And the number of young men who came out with barakoa. Na unaona barakoa hii si mpya, ni kitu inakuwa kwa mfuko. Inachomolewa when need rises. So it looks like they had a need for us. And I told Karonzo, these guys could end up, because you have some privileges, it is either going to be me or Amarwa. One of us may join Waitito in, and Waitito may come out and you now sort me out. It was evidently they were coming to pick one of us.
And they picked Waitito.
Didn't. Okay. Yesterday, they didn't. But that was made very clear to us. So we are back in some areas, days that we cannot, they are not happy days. Because when a police officer comes to you, he must start by identifying himself. So when he comes with a barakoa, what is it? And how would officers coming from the DCI come in numbers with barakoa? Then they told us you have come with very, very, very many young people. Kawabia, I see you having more young people than us. Hii barakoa yote ni mingi kuliko wale. The guys who are with are from the media. And media are not doing anything. They're only covering what you have to go and address them from there. So we have already addressed the media. So you're not interested in addressing them. And again, we want to go in now as lawyers to see our client. They denied us an opportunity to see our client as lawyers. It's a new thing, a new phenomenon in this country. The moment you be denied an opportunity to talk to your lawyers, then you know we've drifted very far back. Beyond the back we know. Beyond by far.
Do you think the impeachment motion is connected to the same?
All these things to me are Kipindi. They all are meant to keep us busy so that other bigger things can happen. Whatever bigger things are, it is upon all of us to find out. Those of us in the opposition must work a little harder and find out. Of course, we have the issues that are now known on the Adani. That is there. But this thing of Shiv is also another saga, is another scam. You can tell we have still the education of our young people is still in limbo. We have IDs are now being issued. Where I was, somebody said my son applied for an ID last year, 2013, 2023, the month of November, up to date. It's kwenda kuja. Remember, that young man cannot do anything, including having a phone.
Can't even register for
SHIF.
SHIF.
Cannot even register for SHIF. He cannot register for the university education. And they are the people who are now moving to that next level. So there are really many issues that we would want to focus on. But of course, the work of the government of the day is to keep us with diversionary tactics. And this one of Gachagua, I was saying it, I want to repeat, if it was a question of whether Gachagua has irritated people, he has irritated us also, even us in opposition, but we can tell you that the issue of impeachment is a misplaced thing for now.
Ndu asked the question, does it matter? And
It does matter.
Your fellow lawyer, Ken Mijungu, said it matters. It matters. It doesn't matter to the ordinary Mwananchi who wants services from the government.
Right.
Doesn't matter whether you remove Gachagua and you replace
Yes.
with whoever.
Yes.
But on the other side, it matters in terms of jurisprudence. It matters in terms of testing the limits of our constitution. Do you agree with Wakili Ken Mijungu?
I would want to agree with him, but he has now gone again to the intellectual limbs. He's left the hustler. Na ameenda huko juu ya wani
ametoka kwa ground,
mambo ingine ya jurisprudence. Na hiyo ni dunia yake. Mwananchi here is asking, the thing about this impeachment has everything to do with the politics within Mount Kenya. Remember, the people who are focal on this impeachment are the same people who are very focal when they were bringing down Uhuru. They are the same people who are very focal when they were talking about issues of shareholding and the rest. So they are now being used towards themselves. And if you ask me, like you have said, the young man without an ID is bothered least about what you are doing about impeachment. He wants his ID so that he can start having
start a
life.
Absolutely.
He wants to go to the university. There is that person who is supposed to go through a dialysis today, and they received phones call last night that they have to come and pay because SHIV is not going to pay for them, and NHIF is also off the table. Those are the things that are bothering Kenyans, and that is why I think the issue of impeachment is not a priority thing. I would urge those involved in it to avoid it and keep away from it, and let people sort out their difficulties within political parties. We have been having the same thing. I said the other day they should, and I'm happy they have now left out the name of Uhuru in it. Ilikuwa kutembea ukisema nimesamehewa na Uhuru na mambo kama hayo. And I clearly mentioned that I can say authoritatively, hakuna mwenye alimtusi Uhuru ambaye Uhuru amechukua nafasi ya kukaa chini kusema nimekusamehe. Huko umemuomba ruhusa ukamtusi. Kwa nini unakuja kumwambia unamtaka? You never had a conversation as to when to insult him. Why do you want a conversation when you want to say that you have stopped insult? That has not happened with anybody.
No one has met the former president.
And nobody has he has never even picked a phone, talked to all of them. Those are lies.
Okay.
And so he should not be dragged to maneno ya shida mtu. But I am also saying the impeachment thing, if members of parliament were a little concerned about the reason why they were put in parliament, they will not bother with those things. Look at the headlines here.
So the members of parliament are actually not bothered with the reason why they're there for the,
They are not.
the instruments of
In any
representation,
case, I believe that is
legislation,
why
and
parliament
oversight.
was breached on the 25th.
So that's what we should be looking at this point to
We
say
should
that,
be-
you know what,
yes.
where Parliament's focus today, for example, on this 1st of October, is everywhere except where it ought to be, and where it will be for the next 7 days until whenever vote, whatever is done, but that we then have representatives of the people who are concerned with everything but their representation.
See how thin opposition has been left. We are running from one studio to the other. That thin. Why? Because you can now only those outside of parliament can speak on behalf of the people. Those who are in parliament and belong to the minority have become mute. They have become part of the broad-based thing, and so they have a broader way of thinking other than thinking about the small issues or the issues that relate to Mwananchi. And that is why I would rather we concentrate on the issues that are really hurting Kenyans, and Kenyans are really hurting. This chief thing, look at the amount of money that we are supposed to pay. Hii wakili hapa
2.75%
ambao bado wanafanya mambo ya wazazi. Sicilian, they pay for you 10,000 shillings. Ni wapi mama atapelekwa kuchijwa kwa 10,000 Kenya hii? Unless you want to endanger the life of the mother and the child again. It costs you a little bit more. 4-5 times, even 6 times that 10,000. So we are going to contribute more, but get less. And the worst thing is that you're also supposed to say what kind of a car you drive for you to
be placed,
for them to be placed, to place you within a given band. They don't even want to know whether the car I have only car is Mashicha breweries ya ng'ombe. Haiwezi beba mtu, but it is a car. I mean, we've really lost it. We've really lost it, and
there's something that Wakili Harun Dubi has asked, and he sent me a message. He's watching the conversation. He's saying, Parliament itself has a job, a mandate. Parliament has a mandate to review the performance of the president, the deputy president, and state officers. Has Parliament ever had such a review? Do they have objective instruments for reviewing the performance of the president, the deputy, and state officers? Because if they don't, then at what point are you coming to say this one has failed to do their job?
And they are going to do that every on an annual basis.
Yes.
It was made a mandatory, a constitutional requirement that the president needs to come to parliament on the month of March or sometimes there, and
give a state of the nation.
Give a state of the
for it to be interrogated.
For parliament to interrogate and have a say on it. We have not had parliament talk about it. That's why I was saying, in the event that they want even this motion to go on, where it is written there titled motion to impeach the DP, it should say and
the president.
Ongeza to and
They
doctor.
should both be looked at.
Yeah, kwa sababu kila kitu imesemwa hapo ni ya wote wawili, wote wa pamoja, so that then also what you were saying when you were out as Azimio maandamano comes to pass. What brought out the Gen Z is also not lost, and you see this thing has they have succeeded one way or another. That's why I'm saying hii kitu ni kipindi. They've now succeeded in getting Mount Kenya to just talk about Rigathi and his impeachment.
That's
As
all
opposed
that's going
to?
And that's one of the main things that they wanted to achieve. So
Why?
Mount Kenya, because this block of votes must be dealt with before 2027. That is the whole game plan. And I tell you,
That is
now
split the vote.
split the vote. So they tried Kidiki West, East, it didn't pick. They brought in this issue of impeachment. Initially, it had not picked. Now it looks like it has sapped everybody in, and it's really a game. It's part of the bigger game, and you'll eventually find that, of course, now when you see them coming for Itito, they're also worried about our moving around with Kalonzo. That is the other thing that is going to be a headache. And all the activities that you are going to see will be heading towards that 7 million voter block, almost. And this Gachagua thing has now been used. He was used to bring down Uhuru, and his whole thing will be used to bring down the mountain. It's very unfortunate. And that's why I'm telling the MPs from Mount Kenya, they should stay away from it if they care the least about this country. Because it is leading. And they are the same team that was used 2022 is the same team that is now being used again to play this game. Niani unashido watu wataamka lini?
If you can see it, why can't they? If that's the thing, why can't they see it? Or why won't they see it? It seems like there'd be a choice.
Because
to turn a blind eye to the important issues.
This choir, they started preparing this choir for a long time. Us, we didn't get to know it. William was assembling this choir since 2013. 2017 was to get away some people who had some maybe bass voices and the rest. Those are Kina Kimunyas and Dennis Wawerus and the others of this world.
Retained the sopranos.
It was a time to weed those ones away. Then 2022 was now a little cast. It is now completely bring in and make sure that even, isolate. So it's a choir. And the choir will always sing as, when you see that guy doing hands like this and you think that he's not communicating, they communicate. And the choir follows those fingers. They make no sense to you. But to those other people, they've been at it for so long that they will only follow the fingers that don't seem. So they will not see anything else. And I can assure you, when you engage any one of them on this issue of impeachment, you realize the level of blindness. You will realize the level of blindness. And it's unfortunate that the mountain is actually being used to drive this country the long way. It was used to bring in the votes for William. It's now being used to again move us away from the issues of Adani and the other issues completely off track. It's really unfortunate. Of course,
do you see that?
The issue of the broad-based thing also didn't help us a lot because there was hope there. And mzee rafiki yangu aliondoka tu na tukaenda tu tatu kuona mataa. Unajua mataa saa zingine unaweza kojia iseme kama niero akukua mataa.
What I see is this.
Na kabla uone, I hope he is also not being played. I can actually say here confidently that he has been played. This is going to be another earthquake. Because Laila will add here, without AU and without Azimio, without everything that he had, having been without even ODM, I don't know whether that is also influencing this Maneno impeachment. Perhaps to create room for for him when he finally arrives.
My interest is this. Don't you think that the reason why the same people are being used is because they find no value in retaining Rigathi Gachagua at the top? Because if they had value, if for example Rigathi has been speaking for them, if Rigathi has honestly and truly been speaking for the mountain and not for himself, then they'll find value in his existence and they'll not support such a thing.
But at what point had he ever spoken on behalf of anything?
Good question.
Because his whole mouth has been used to bring people down. So even when members of parliament stand and say that he has been unkind to them, he was never kind to any other person. They were together being unkind to Uhuru. So when he turned and became unkind to them, they are now complaining and they want to punish him.
So
I have also reason to say that he has been unkind to me. Every other person can say that. But I'm saying for the sake of this country, let them finish together, waende pamoja, tuachane na hii shida.
Ama watoke pamoja sahi.
And that's why you put the ad. You can use it in full letters or you put ile kitu ya and it is
do you think this impeachment will succeed?
It is going to keep us here for a long time. We will forget about the issues of IEBC. It will be sorted out without anybody's paying attention. This impeachment will eventually go to the courts. I see it all the way to the Court of Appeals, Supreme Court. It is not going to be done until sometimes maybe March next year.
In the meantime, we'll be distracted.
In the meantime, we have no health care. Like people are not going to school. IDs are not being issued. Adani imeenda. KCC. Tumetoka huko Nyahururu. I can tell you what the auditor did. The other day, he went to audit. It was also being sold. Nafikiri kameenda. Hata kukamenda hata KICC ni Mwenyezi Mungu amesaidia. So when they went to do audit akaambiwa hii maziwa yote tunagojea kuuza very many cartons kutoka huku mpaka huku. So he decided to walk and count some boxes. You know, auditing requires, you know,
Yeah.
akatembea juu kufika pale katikati hapo mpaka chini because they were empty cartons.
Oh,
Empty cartons. So another scam. Hakuna watu walipi maziwa, pesa zimeibiwa. It's the same thing in coffee, the same thing in tea. So this thing is the least of our concerns, and I want to urge those members of parliament to wapuguze vipindi. Let us concentrate on the real issues.
Jeremiah Kioni, good to have you here even for 20 minutes.
I thank you and my apologies again. I will make sure that
You improve.
nobody will now accuse me. I will come the day before and sleep around.
Kioni is the Secretary General of Jubilee. Ken Mijungu, Managing Editor, KTN. Follow the coverage of what will be happening in Parliament throughout on KTN today. And tonight, there's a mega show, right?
Yep.
On this impeachment.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.